We're counting down the 7 most misleading moisturizers mature skin should avoid. Brands trusted for decades but secretly undermining your barrier with alcohol, fragrance, and lightweight formulas built for a teenager, not for you. From hydration traps to prestige creams that promise radiance but speed up dryness, each entry reveals a hidden risk that gets more surprising as the list unfolds. Which formula is quietly accelerating fine lines in millions of cabinets right now? Let's start the countdown at number 7. Number 7 on the list is Neutrogena's Hydro Boost Gel. The product has earned a permanent spot in drugstore aisles and skincare routines across the country. The promise is simple: instant hydration and a weightless feel thanks to a slick gel texture built on hyaluronic acid and dimethicone. For younger, oilier skin, that formula can feel refreshing and light. But for anyone over 40, the experience is often very different. Mature skin naturally loses the lipids and ceramides that keep the barrier strong. Without those, water escapes faster and dryness sets in more quickly. Hydro Boost Gel relies on humectants like hyaluronic acid to pull in water, but it does not include the barrier-repairing fats that older skin desperately needs. The result is a burst of moisture that feels good at first, but within an hour, many users report a familiar tightness creeping back in. That sensation is not a sign of deep hydration. It is your skin losing water just as fast as it absorbs it. Online, stories pile up from women in their 40s and 50s who say their skin felt tight and dry after an hour, or that it looked plump at first, then flaky by lunchtime. Dermatologists caution that formulas like this, especially when paired with fragrance and synthetic dyes, are built for oil control and not for replenishing a thinning barrier. With Hydro Boost Gel's massive reach, that means millions of mature skin users are left chasing hydration that never actually lasts. If your moisturizer leaves your face feeling parched before dinner, it is time to look past the gel trap and start reading ingredient lists for real barrier support. Clean and clear moisturizers are a common sight in homes with teenagers, but they are a misfit for anyone managing mature skin. These formulas are built for oil control and breakout prevention, not for the needs of skin that is losing its natural reserves. The star ingredient in most clean and clear moisturizers is salicylic acid, usually at 0.5 to 2%. For a 16-year-old with clogged pores and excess sebum, that daily dose of beta-hydroxy acid makes sense. But after 40, the equation changes. Skin starts producing less oil and fewer barrier lipids, and recovery from irritation slows down. When a moisturizer designed for teenage acne is used on mature skin, the results can be harsh. Salicylic acid exfoliates by dissolving the bonds between dead skin cells, but it also strips away the last layer of protective lipids. Add in oil control surfactants, and you are left with a formula that removes what little moisture mature skin has left. Dermatologists warn that frequent daily use of these acid-based lotions accelerates dryness, increases sensitivity, and can even trigger flaking or burning sensations. The skin's barrier gets thinner and more fragile, making it harder to retain water and easier to irritate. John, a 52-year-old who started using his son's Clean and Clear Dual Action Moisturizer, noticed his face feeling tight and rough within a week. Fine lines looked deeper, and his cheeks stung after shaving. He thought he was keeping breakouts at bay, but in reality his skin was being stripped twice a day. For mature skin, dermatology guidelines recommend saving acids for occasional spot treatment and reaching for barrier repair creams instead. If your moisturizer's label boasts oil-free, acne-fighting, or 2% salicylic acid, it is time to hand it back to your teenager and choose something designed to nourish, not deplete 40-plus skin. St. Ives has built its reputation on that bold, fresh, scrubbed feeling, especially with the apricot scrub and its cooling menthol-loaded creams. But for mature skin, these products deliver more harm than help. The main culprit is the physical exfoliant ground walnut shell particles. Unlike smooth, rounded beads, these jagged fragments act like tiny shards, scraping away not just dead skin, but also the fragile barrier that keeps moisture in and irritants out. Dermatologists have long warned that these harsh scrubs can create microscopic abrasions, often called microtears, in the stratum corneum. While no clinical trial has captured these tears under a microscope, the mechanical damage is well understood. In research labs, even controlled tape stripping is used to deliberately injure the barrier for study, because friction reliably increases water loss and inflammation. For anyone over 40, that damage is harder to bounce back from. Aging skin has fewer ceramides and slower repair, so every abrasive session leaves it drier, more sensitive, and more prone to redness. For those with rosacea or sensitive skin, the risk doubles. Friction can trigger flares, and recovery may take days instead of hours. On top of the physical insult, St. Ives often adds menthol and heavy fragrance. Menthol activates cold receptors, TRPM8 channels in the skin, producing that signature tingle. But this sensation is not a sign of deep cleansing. It is a signal that nerves are being stimulated, and in compromised or aging skin, that often means stinging, burning, and neurogenic inflammation. The 2016 class action lawsuit against St. Ives Apricot Scrub may have fizzled in court, but it spotlighted a growing professional concern. Dermatologists continue to steer mature clients away from irregular abrasive scrubs and menthol-heavy creams, especially when dryness, redness, or sensitivity are already issues. That satisfying tingle is your skin's distress call, not a badge of effectiveness. For anyone over 40, especially those prone to rosacea, it is time to retire the scrub and reach for barrier repair instead. The Body Shop's shelves are lined with jars and tubes promising natural nourishment, vitamin E, drops of youth, and glowy botanicals in pastel packaging. For many, the branding feels safe and even gentle, especially compared to harsher, clinical-looking competitors. But when it comes to mature skin, the label's promise of natural can hide a real risk. Many of the Body Shop's signature moisturizers lean heavily on fragrance and essential oils. These ingredients are not just a pleasant afterthought. They often appear high on the ingredient list, sometimes listed as parfum, and sometimes as a blend of citrus, tea tree, or floral oils. Dermatologists and allergy clinics have flagged these compounds for decades. In patch test studies, oxidized fragrance terpenes like limonene and linalool, common in essential oils, cause positive allergic reactions in 5 to 20% of people already sensitized to fragrance. As skin ages and the barrier weakens, the odds of developing a reaction climb even higher. Unlike the instant sting of an acid or scrub, fragrance sensitization is a slow build. Daily use can lead to chronic dermatitis, persistent redness, itching, or scaling that lasts for months, not minutes. For mature skin, this is more than a minor annoyance. Once sensitized, the skin may react to even tiny amounts of fragrance or essential oil, making it hard to find products that do not trigger discomfort. The risk here is not just a fleeting irritation, but a long-term vulnerability that can leave skin permanently more reactive. Many Body Shop creams skip barrier repair ingredients like ceramides and cholesterol, focusing instead on rich textures and pleasing scents. The result is a moisturizer that feels pampering but leaves the skin's defenses unaddressed. It is a common myth that natural equals gentle. In reality, mature skin is more likely to develop allergies and chronic inflammation from repeated exposure to essential oils and perfume blends. For anyone over 40, the safest bet is a formula that is fragrance-free and focused on barrier repair, not just a pleasant aroma. The next problem on the list is moisturizers that go too far in the other direction, so minimal they offer little more than water and hope. Simple's moisturizers have earned a loyal following for their straightforward, fragrance-free formulas and a gentle reputation. For anyone whose skin reacts to dyes or perfumes, Simple's Kind to Skin line is often the first recommendation from friends and dermatologists. The ingredient lists read like a lesson in minimalism: water, glycerin, a few emollients, and not much else. There is no alcohol denat, no harsh acids, no essential oils. On paper, it looks like a safe harbor for sensitive faces, especially after years of run-ins with stinging gels or over-perfumed creams. But for mature skin, gentleness alone is not enough. After 40, the skin's natural supplies of ceramides, cholesterol, and fatty acids drop sharply, and the barrier becomes more fragile with every passing year. Without active support, water escapes faster and fine lines deepen. While Simple's formulas avoid obvious irritants, they also skip the ingredients that actually repair and strengthen a thinning barrier. Most of their classic creams and lotions contain no ceramides, no cholesterol, and only trace amounts of niacinamide A, if any at all. Clinical studies have shown that niacinamide, at concentrations between 2 and 5%, can improve fine lines and elasticity, and even increase the skin's own production of barrier lipids within just 8 to 12 weeks. In one randomized controlled trial, women using 4% niacinamide cream saw visible improvements in wrinkles and skin texture over 3 months. Yet in Simple's most widely sold moisturizers, niacinamide is often missing or present in amounts too low to make a difference. The result is a moisturizer that feels safe, but delivers little more than surface hydration. For a 25-year-old with resilient skin, that might be enough. But on a 50-year-old face, the effect is often underwhelming. Dryness and tightness persist, and the skin never quite regains its bounce. The label might promise kindness and hydration, but without barrier repair actives, mature skin is left waiting for real change. This is the trap of minimalism: low risk but low reward, especially when the skin needs active repair, not just a break from irritation. The next danger comes from products that promise nourishment but deliver only fleeting surface effects, leaving deeper needs unmet. Garnier's Moisture Rescue and Moisture Balm gel creams have become staples in drugstore aisles, promising a burst of hydration with every application. Their ingredient lists read like a chemistry set for instant gratification: water, glycerin, denatured alcohol, and a slick lineup of silicones and film-forming polymers. These formulas are engineered to deliver a glossy, dewy finish on contact. Dimethicone and dimethiconol create a silky film that smooths over fine lines, while carbomer and xanthan gum help the gel set and cling to the skin's surface. Glycerin and biosaccharide gum 1 pull in water, amplifying that first rush of plumpness. Fragrance sits high on the label, adding a fresh scent but also a known trigger for irritation, especially as skin ages. The magic trick is all about sensation. The gel glides on cool, soaks in fast, and leaves a light reflecting sheen. For anyone in their 20s with combination skin, that surface gloss feels like proof the product is working. But for mature skin, the story changes as the day wears on. These gel creams are almost entirely missing the barrier repair lipids, ceramides, cholesterol, and rich plant oils that older skin desperately needs to trap moisture and rebuild its barrier. Instead, the formula relies on humectants and a temporary film. The effect is a hydration spike that peaks within the first hour, then fades as water evaporates and the film wears off. By mid-afternoon, many users report the same cycle. My skin looked great at breakfast, but by lunch it felt tight and dry again. Instrumental studies comparing gel-based humectant-heavy moisturizers to lipid-rich creams show a clear pattern. Gels deliver a quick bump in skin hydration, but that benefit drops off faster than with creams loaded with ceramides or occlusive fats. The polymers and silicones in Garnier's formulas lock in water only at the very surface. Without deeper lipid support, the skin's natural barrier remains thin and vulnerable. Denatured alcohol, which appears near the top of the label, can further strip moisture, especially in dry or postmenopausal skin. Fragrance adds another layer of risk, increasing the odds of irritation over time. Garnier's own marketing positions these gel creams as refreshing and oil-free, an easy sell for younger, oilier faces or hot climates. But even the brand pivots to richer creams with anti-aging actives when addressing wrinkles and mature skin. The reality is, for someone over 40, these gel creams are all surface and no substance. The initial dew is real, but it is fleeting. By the end of the day, the quick-hit hydration has evaporated, leaving mature skin drier and more vulnerable than before. A mass-market formula built for instant feel-good can keep you chasing moisture that never truly lasts. Clinique's reputation rests on decades of prestige, minimalist packaging, and a promise of allergy-tested, fragrance-free formulas. For many, the classic pale pink jar of Moisture Surge is a symbol of trust, a staple on vanities from New York to Tokyo. But when it comes to mature skin, this iconic cream reveals one of the most subtle mismatches in the moisturizer world, a formula built around instant smoothing, not true repair. The ingredient list tells the story. Moisture Surge and its siblings are dominated by dimethicone and other silicones, which create a silky slip and a soft focus finish. Dimethicone forms a semi-occlusive film on the surface, reducing water loss and giving the skin an immediate plumped look. For a freshly cleansed face, this can feel like a miracle. Lines are blurred, texture looks refined, and makeup glides on without dragging. But beneath that surface, the deeper needs of aging skin remain unmet. What is missing is just as important as what is present. There are no ceramides, no cholesterol, and no skin-identical fatty acids in these classic formulas. The barrier lipids that naturally decline with age, the very molecules responsible for locking in moisture and keeping the skin's structure resilient, are nowhere to be found on the INCI label. Instead, the formula leans on humectants like glycerin and hyaluronic acid, which draw in water but cannot rebuild the lipid lamellae that act as the mortar between skin cells. Without these, water escapes faster, and the barrier stays fragile. For postmenopausal skin, this distinction is critical. As estrogen drops, the skin's supply of ceramides and cholesterol dwindles, leaving it more prone to dryness, flaking, and sensitivity. Clinical studies show that moisturizers rich in barrier lipids, especially those with ceramides, cholesterol, and fatty acids in balanced ratios, can restore hydration, reduce transepidermal water loss, and support the skin's own repair processes within weeks. Silicones, by contrast, offer only temporary occlusion. They smooth and seal, but they do not nourish or rebuild. The result is a moisturizer that feels comforting at first, but leaves the underlying problem unsolved. Dermatologists often describe this effect as cosmetic masking. The skin looks and feels better for a few hours, but the improvements are superficial. Over time, mature users may notice that tightness and dryness keep returning, especially in dry climates or after cleansing. Fine lines and crepey texture can become more pronounced as the barrier remains undernourished. Even as Clinique's marketing pivots to include models in their 40s and 50s, the classic Moisture Surge formula remains largely unchanged, still prioritizing slip and surface comfort over physiological repair. Ingredient analysis confirms the pattern. Dimethicone sits high on the list, while ceramides and cholesterol are absent. Some newer Clinique launches, like Moisture Surge Intense, 72-hour lipid replenishing hydrator, nod toward barrier support, but the flagship products still rely on the old silicone-heavy blueprint. For those with very dry or postmenopausal skin, even the dramatically different lotion offers more occlusion than nourishment, thanks to its mineral oil and petrolatum base. But again, without the modern barrier lipids that science now recognizes as essential. The price tag adds another layer to the mismatch. Clinique commands a premium, yet the formulas often lack the ingredients that matter most for aging skin. It is a cautionary tale. Trust, heritage, and expense do not guarantee a product that meets the unique needs of mature skin. For those seeking real repair, a moisturizer that does more than smooth over the cracks, the answer lies in formulas that supply what the skin is losing: ceramides, cholesterol, and supportive fatty acids, paired with gentle humectants and a fragrance-free base. Only then does the glow go beyond the surface, delivering comfort and resilience that lasts beyond the first touch. Across all 7 entries, one pattern stands out. Formulas built for youthful, oily skin still dominate the shelves, leaving mature skin drier, tighter, and more mature and vulnerable. The real risk is not obvious toxins, but mismatched ingredients that quietly sabotage skin's repair. Today, choosing the right moisturizer is not a luxury, it is essential self-care. Mature skin deserves products that actually meet its changing needs. Let me know your experiences or questions in the comments below.